Welcome back to the True Alien Podcast.
Great to be diving in again.
Today's paranormal probe, it's a weird one. Seriously unsettling. We're setting aside the usual blurry blobs in the sky for a moment, because tonight we're heading to Argentina, specifically to a night where it seems like the sky itself got way too personal with one family.
Yeah, this isn't just a quick flyby. The description suggests something much more invasive. Sustained, certainly.
Exactly. Invasive is a good word. We're looking at file #11, the TRANCAS incident. And look, this isn't some third-hand story. We're talking multiple witnesses, a really detailed account of some, frankly, bizarre phenomena.
And it's worth remembering, these accounts often come from ordinary people thrown into situations they perceive as utterly extraordinary and terrifying.
Totally. So our focus for this probe, October 21st, 1963, Villa de Trancas, Tucumán province, Argentina. The Moreno family. What they went through, it really sounds like something ripped straight out of a sci-fi horror movie.
It pushes the boundaries of what we think is possible, definitely.
Our mission, then, to try and unpack this. Well, this shit show, as one source kind of bluntly put it. See what really makes this case stand out.
Okay, so where do we start? The initial scene.
Yeah, let's set the scene. Imagine rural Argentina, early 60s, a farmhouse, pretty isolated.
It's the kind of quiet you just don't get anymore.
Right. So the Moreno family, Juvencia, Dora, Marina, Elvira, and Pedro, they're inside their farmhouse, probably just a normal evening. And then boom, the whole property just lights up. Insanely bright. One source used a pretty colorful phrase, brighter than a Vegas crack den.
Okay, that paints a picture. So, intense illumination.
Super intense. Not just one light source. Multiple sources lighting the whole place up.
Multiple sources is interesting.
Yep.
Suggests maybe more than one object or a very large one. Coordination, perhaps.
And then they saw them. Not classic saucers, apparently. More like glowing cigar-shaped things, UFOs hovering right there.
Cigar shapes. Yeah, that pops up a lot in reports from the 50s and 60s, doesn't it?
It does. And these weren't small. Described as pretty large, luminous. Another source called them giant luminous sky dildos.
Right, well, putting the colorful descriptions aside, the shape itself is noteworthy for the period. How many did they report seeing?
Reports vary a little, but it seems like at least 3, maybe more, hovering right outside.
Okay. 3 or more large, glowing, cigar-shaped objects. That's already way beyond a mistaken plane sighting.
Oh, yeah. And then it gets even stranger. These things start focusing beams of light right at the house windows.
Beams of light, like trying to see inside? Or...
It seems like it. But here's the thing. The beams didn't, like, blast through the glass or anything. They just steadily hit the windows, illuminated them.
So not destructive energy beams, more like focused spotlights.
Yeah, like laser pointers wielded by cosmic dickheads, was how one source put it. Deliberate focused beams on the window.
Okay, that directed energy. It's weird. Why do that? Observation. Some kind of scanning. The fact the windows held is interesting. Suggests it wasn't brute force.
And then, this is where it really turns terrifying. Juvencia Moreno, the mother, she tries to react. Stands up, maybe tries to yell.
Instinct, right. What's going on?
Exactly. But the moment this light, presumably from the beams, hits her, bang, complete paralysis.
Paralysis, just like that.
Instantly. Couldn't move, couldn't speak, just frozen, watching these things outside.
That is deeply disturbing. Loss of all motor control.
And it wasn't just her. This is the kicker. The entire family. Dora, Marina, Elvira, Pedro. Everyone in the house. Paralyzed at the same time.
Wow. Okay, that changes things. Simultaneous paralysis across multiple people. That strongly points to an external cause, doesn't it? Hard to explain away as individual shock.
Absolutely. Can you imagine? Utterly helpless. Trapped in your own body, watching these silent, glowing things outside your window. You can't scream, can't run. Weaponized helplessness, someone called it. Like being remote control humans.
The psychological terror of that. Unimaginable. How long did this last?
Reports estimate around 50 minutes. 50. Nearly an hour of being frozen watching these objects.
50 minutes? That's an incredibly long time for such an intense, bizarre event. The fear must have been astronomical.
Unbelievable. And then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped.
They just left.
Yep. The lights vanished. The paralysis just wore off.
Leaving the family, you can only assume, absolutely traumatized.
I would imagine so. Just back to normal, but with that memory.
So let's unpack that a bit. Key takeaways. One thing that hits me is how vulnerable a simple window makes you in a scenario like this.
It really does. That thin barrier between inside and outside, the idea it can be breached, even just by light or some unseen force, is unsettling. Your safe space isn't safe.
And the paralysis beam idea, or whatever it was, it's not just a story element, it's a reported physical effect.
Right. The paralysis is maybe the most baffling part. What technology, what phenomenon could do that remotely to multiple people? It's a huge question mark.
The isolation, too. Being out on that remote farmhouse. Maybe that played a role, made them a target. It certainly could amplify the feeling of vulnerability. And, practically speaking, less chance of other witnesses or immediate help.
And finally, the complete lack of any real official explanation. You can just hear the usual suspects, right? Swamp gas, weather balloon.
Atmospheric anomalies, misidentified aircraft, the standard dismissals that rarely fit the specific details, especially the paralysis.
Exactly. They just don't cut it here. Now, thinking broader, could this TRANCAS incident, being so early, 1963, could it be like an early version of what people later called abduction scenarios? Maybe less about taking people, more about control, testing.
That's a chilling thought. Gray ops, as the outline put it. If you assume non-human intelligence, maybe this was an early experiment. Testing methods of control, observing reactions without direct contact or resistance. The paralysis certainly fits that.
And it plugs into that whole theme of South America being a UFO hotspot, doesn't it? Argentina, Brazil.
There does seem to be a concentration of high strangeness reports from that region, particularly during that era. Why that might be? Well, that's another rabbit hole. Environmental factors, some of the reason it was a focus, hard to say.
The source even touches on, the weirder stuff. Parallels to mind control tech, neuroweapons, even the idea of secret human tech being tested disguised as UFOs.
It definitely makes you consider the intersection between reported UFO phenomena and potential advancements in classified technology, whether terrestrial or otherwise. The lines can get blurry.
And it feeds into that idea of a silent invasion, maybe. Not fleets landing on the White House lawn, but subtle observation, testing, poking and prodding from the edges.
A gradual, perhaps unnoticed interaction or study. It's a recurring theme in speculation, and cases like TRANCAS give it a certain uncomfortable plausibility.
Let's try and put ourselves in their shoes for a second. Uvencia's perspective, maybe? Imagine feeling that.
Yeah, the human element is crucial.
Slightly softer tone. Okay, so the light, it wasn't normal light. It felt heavy, like pressure. Yeah. You try to shout for your husband and the kids, nothing comes out. Your limbs feel like lead, like stone, and outside. Just these things. Silent. Huge. Watching the beams hit the window over and over. Cold light filling the room. And you can't move, can't do anything but watch, and just pray they don't come through the window.
That captures it, I think, that absolute powerlessness. Being an observed specimen, unable to react, it's primal fear.
Now, contrast that with the official brush-off. Like, here's a hypothetical official report snippet.
Always interesting to see how these things get reframed.
Dry, monotone, file. AR-63 TRANCAS. Initial report suggests family experienced unusual aerial lights. Subjects reported transient psychogenic immobility.
Psychogenic immobility. Blaming the victim's minds, basically.
Pretty much. Possible contributing factors, local hallucinogenic plants, maybe ball lightning cluster.
Ball lightning causing simultaneous paralysis in 5 people. Seems unlikely.
Right. Conclusion. Anxiety-induced perception. Low priority. Case closed. You know the drill.
Yeah. The discrepancy between the lived experience and the official explanation is often vast.
So many questions left over. Like, what happened to the Moreno family afterwards? The trail seems to go cold, which is interesting.
The long-term effects are often undocumented. Did they move? Did they talk about it? Were there lingering health issues, psychological impacts? We often don't know. The lack of follow-up is common, unfortunately.
And the location, Tucumán, near the Andes. There are always those stories about hidden bases, weird energy spots in the mountains, any connection, or just folklore.
The Andes definitely have their share of mysteries and legends. Whether they connect specifically to the TRANCAS event is pure speculation, but it adds another layer to the context, doesn't it?
And those cigar shapes again. So common mid-century. Why that shape? Were they all seeing the same thing or just describing something unknown in similar terms?
That's the million-dollar question about recurring shapes. Is it a shared technology being observed or a shared cultural filter for interpreting the unknown? Could be either or both.
Then you have the meh explanations, as the outline calls them. Mass hysteria.
Difficult to sustain with the specific physical paralysis reported.
Right. Ball lightning, experimental aircraft. They just don't seem to fit all the facts, especially the paralysis.
They often explain some elements but leave the core anomalies untouched.
Which leads to the more out-there theories. Non-human recon.
A common hypothesis in cases with high strangeness and apparent surveillance.
Government psyops. testing something on an unsuspecting family.
A darker but not entirely dismissible possibility, given the history of clandestine experiments.
Or even interdimensional bleed-through, something slipping into our reality briefly.
That moves into very speculative territory, but it's an attempt to frame phenomena that seem to defy conventional physics.
And connecting it to other cases. Colares, Brazil, 77. Those light beams apparently caused injuries, burns, like an escalation from TRANCAS.
The parallels are interesting. Similar phenomena focused light beams, but with seemingly more harmful effects reported in Colares, it suggests a potential spectrum of interactions.
And Pascagoula, 73. That abduction case famously involved paralysis too, didn't it? Used to immobilize the witnesses.
Yes, paralysis as a control mechanism seems to be a recurring feature in some abduction narratives and close encounter reports. It's a disturbing pattern.
So the TRANCAS incident, it just sits there, doesn't it? Chilling, perplexing. A whole family targeted, immobilized, observed.
It really exemplifies the kind of deeply strange encounter that defies easy explanation and sticks in your mind. The combination of elements is just so bizarre.
Was it aliens? Secret tech? Something else? We just don't know.
And perhaps we can't know with the available information, but the questions it raises are profound.
Yeah, the details, cigars, beams, mass paralysis, they're too specific, too weird to just ignore. This paranormal probe, like so many, leaves us with way more questions than answers.
Which is often the nature of exploring these phenomena. It pushes the boundaries of our understanding.
And it definitely leaves you with that feeling that, well, maybe the skies are stranger than we think. Maybe much stranger.
It encourages us to keep an open but critical mind, to question our assumptions about reality.
So we definitely encourage you, listening out there, dig into the TRANCAS incident yourself. Read the accounts. Think about the possibilities. What do you think happened that night? What does it suggest about, well, everything?
Keep exploring, keep questioning. That's how we edge closer to understanding, even if definitive answers remain elusive.
Keep your minds open. And maybe keep an eye on the skies. You never know.